Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name is Azallea, and today I'm gonna be bringing you guys another post-duel commentary. Now I know I haven't done this in quite a while, but let's just jump right into this game for now. So looking at my hand, we open pretty well. We have Brilliant Fusion, we have the Soprano and Cannon combo, but what sucks is that we actually have the Fusion Recycling Plant and the Polymerization. You don't ever want to really draw into your Polymerization, because you can search it, of course, with your Fusion Recycling Plant. But Brilliant Fusion sending the Lazuli and the Trick Clown so that I can normal summon the Soprano using Seraphonite's normal summon, and then special summon the Cannon from my hand. Now, my goal here is to try and go for some draws, so I'm contemplating going for Jintate Tsukiyomi, one of the best first turn plays that you can do. Very similar to how ABCs used to function, where you make a Tsukiyomi and you get an ABC Dragon Buster. So what I did was activate the Fusion Recycling Plant so I don't discard it. I discard the Polymerization, which is fine because I can always get it back with the Fusion Recycling Plant. And I drew into another Cannon and a Ghost Ogre. So I have several options here. I can summon the Ghost Ogre, and I can go for an Ancient Fairy Dragon. Destroy the Fusion Recycling Plant and, you know, search out the Ritual Sanctuary. But checking my graveyard, I only have one spell card in there, so there's no real reason to go for the Ritual Sanctuary here. So instead, I go for the Cannon, normal summon it using my actual normal summon, and then make a Traptrix Rafflesia for defensive purposes. The other thing I could have done was actually normal summon the Ghost Ogre and then Synchro with my Seraphonite to make the Stardust Dragon, but just looking at my field, Stardust with a Tsukiyomi, and I'm going in blind against a random person I don't know, so I don't know what deck they're playing. That was not really a smart move. So enter the end phase with just a Traptrix Rafflesia and a Tsukiyomi. Rafflesia is enough disruption because I had the Ghost Ogre in my hand as well, so that was kind of nice, just holding out the Ghost Ogre. My opponent goes for Red Eye's Fusion, so he can't normal special summon for the rest of the turn. And so if I get rid of this monster, you know, he's basically going to be defenseless, which is what I do here. I use the Bottomless Trap Hole. Went for the Bottomless, not the Treacherous, which is important because the Treacherous has to destroy two monsters, and I wanted to keep everything that I have on the field, mostly because Seraphonite I can make a Stardust Dragon next turn with Ghost Ogre if I need to, and all that good stuff. Another cool thing about Fusion Recycling Plant though is it works with Brilliant Fusion, because Brilliant Fusion, you use it to Fusion Summon, so I was able to add the Lazuli from my graveyard back to my hand during the end phase, because she was one of the fusion materials that I used. And that means that on my next turn, I can actually discard Lazuli to get a Polymerization back from my graveyard, so it's like a free Polymerization that I can get, which is really nice. So my opponent goes for an Allure and then goes for the Red Eye's Insight, which allows him to search Return of the Red Eyes, which is really weird. I thought he'd go for like the Red Eye Spirit or whatever the other Monster Reborn card is for Red Eyes, the trap. This one, Red Eyes, the Return of Red Eyes it requires you to have a Red Eyes on the field, which he didn't have, so I'm just anticipating like another form of revival in his back row. So that's what I'm waiting for right here. But nothing in his graveyard is really too important, so even if he revives something, I could just probably get rid of it pretty easily. So again, yes, I discard the Lazuli to add the Polymerization from my graveyard to my hand, which and I get really lucky because I get the Terraforming as a top deck, which means I can search out the Ritual Sanctuary without going for an Ancient Fairy Dragon or anything weird like that. And right now I'm trying to get 4 spell cards in the graveyard because I want to summon a Shiberta. It's really important that I get the Shiberta because I can banish the Bottomless Trap Hole in my graveyard, which means the Treacherous Trap Hole will be live again for my Traptrix Rafflesia, because right now Rafflesia is dead because you can't send Treacherous Trap Hole if there's another trap card in your graveyard. So I have to get rid of that Bottomless. So what I do here is I actually discard the Polymerization with the Ritual Sanctuary. A lot of synergy between Fusion Recycling Plant and Ritual Sanctuary. Could have easily used the Polymerization to fuse both my Rafflesia and my Tsukiyomi for a Norden, but I want to use both of their effects, so I kept them on the field, and that's completely fine. I also normal summon the Ghost Ogre using my Seraphonite's normal summon. You can still use Ghost Ogre's effect from the field, which is really good. So that's why, you know, summoning her is not bad choice, especially if you're gonna go for a synchro play like I will. I'm gonna try to go for either Ancient Fairy Dragon with the Ghost Ogre and the Trick Clown that's about to come back, or I can go for Stardust with the Ghost Ogre and the Seraphonite. But my opponent flips the Transmigration Prophecy, and I love this card, but this card is not really relevant or sees much play at all. But in this case, it was actually really good because he targeted my Trick Clown and my Hymn of Light, which means that, yeah. This is actually a really good move on his part. I don't think he realized. The Hymn of Light, I actually needed it in my graveyard because as you can see there's only 3 spell cards in there right now, and I needed 4 to bring back the Soprano. So this was a bit of a problem. Luckily for me though, I drew into 2 spell cards with my Tsukiyomi, but the thing is, I don't really want to summon any more cards. If I use the emergency teleport and I summon another Ghost Ogre from my deck, that means I'll have 5 monster zones all filled, and I need 2 zones open in order to summon the Soprano and the Cannon and go for Shiberta. So I'm contemplating going for Stardust right now, but I'm thinking, okay, it might be a little bit more damage because if I discard a spell card from my hand with the Brilliant Fusion, brings Seraphonite up to 2300. You know, Stardust Dragon's 25, I do 200 more damage, but I realized that's not a big deal at all. So discard the emergency teleport, don't really need it right now, because Raigeki I believe is a little better to keep in hand, especially against a deck like Red Eyes, which can easily swarm you out if you let them generate enough advantage with that Return of Red Eyes trap card. So discard the emergency teleport with the Brilliant Fusion so I can get the Seraphonite up to 2300 attack. Just trying to get some damage in before I go for a synchro play. And yeah, so now I also have 4 spell cards in my graveyard, and I really want to go for a Shiberta, but I'm going to enter the battle phase because, you know, he's playing the Transmigration Prophecy. I don't really know what else he could be playing. If he has you know, compulsory evacuation devices or weird things like that, and maybe I could bait it out by entering the battle phase, but looks like he has nothing, no mirror forces or anything like that either, which is really cool. So go into main phase 2, immediately go for the Stardust Dragon, which will help me protect my plays right here. So if he has a Torrential Tribute or anything like that, won't really be doing much. Okay, so going for the Soprano, shuffle all 4 spell cards in my graveyard back into my deck, because this is one of the most important plays in terms of the game state right now, because I really need to make my Traptrix Rafflesia live. I have protection in the form of Stardust Dragon, and if I can get the Shiberta out, she'll be Graveyard Disruption, which is really good against a deck like Red Eyes, which tries to fuel up their graveyard to revive things like with their trap cards and all that. So I don't know if he had a response or not, or he was just checking the board and reading the effects, but I summoned the Soprano and add the Cannon from my graveyard back to my hand, and then I can special summon a Cannon from my hand. So now what I can do is I could go for rank 4 if I needed to, but the better play here, of course, is to go for the Shiberta by using Soprano's effect and fusing with the Cannon on the field. Again, I believe he was just reading my effect at this point, but yeah, Shiberta will be able to banish the bottomless trap hole in my graveyard, but I don't do it just yet. It's tempting to do it immediately, but it's best to wait to see if your opponent has anything that you can disrupt. So my opponent he goes for the draw for his draw phase, and then he goes for another unexpected card, the Jar of Avarice. So this is why I really highly recommend that you wait for your Shiberta, because you can chain Shiberta to a bunch of effects. So yeah, the thing about Jar of Avarice, you have to shuffle all 5 cards back into your deck to get a draw. And if I banish even one of those cards in his grave, he won't be able to do that. So what I choose to do is I banish the Red Eyes Meteor Dragon, I believe, and then another card. Oh, Red Eyes Insight, that's right. And then I banish the bottomless trap hole in my graveyard. In hindsight, I probably should have just banished another monster, because, you know, Jar of Avarice wouldn't be able to resolve anyway. But he goes for an instant fusion. I'm thinking, okay, if he goes for Norden and brings something back, I could just treacherous both of those away. But he goes for the Thousand Eyes Restrict, which I say, okay, Traptrix Rafflesia is going to send the treacherous trap hole, and then target the Rafflesia and the Thousand Eyes Restrict, just to free up some space on my side of the field. And that should be enough to attack for game next turn, because the set card is, of course, the Return of the Red Eyes that was dead that he searched out his previous turn. But yeah, and then he surrenders because he has no other plays left. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is hopefully it showed you guys the versatility of this deck. You know, I know a lot of people say, you know, it isn't really a Melodious deck, but a lot of the core plays do revolve around the Melodious monsters. As you can see, the synergy between Shiberta and Rafflesia and things like that. It's very small interactions between these cards that make the deck what it is. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe for more Melodious content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.